Hello, hello, hello everyone. Welcome back to another video. Alright, let's check it out. Let's see what I got for you right now. If you like those early Japanese cars that little by little started taking over many parts of the world, that were starting to be noticed and starting to show a little bit more than just little K cars. Well, these are the right videos for you because these are the early generations of Japanese cars that some of you like to see, that remember from back in the days. Now, what I got for you right now, it's a 1/43 scale 1972 Subaru Leone state van, four-wheel drive. If you are familiar with Subaru, they're one of the very first brands. Excuse, there it goes. They're one of the very first brands that started mainstreaming a lot the four-wheel drive in most of their vehicles, or at least they were trying to make it more, maybe for the everyday use, not just in the city. Maybe you want to go to the countryside getaway, and that was the proper vehicle to drive. And also, the good thing about these cars, they didn't just come as a wagon or as a pickup. These, example, the Subaru Leone, the one that we're looking at right now, this is the very first generation. Let me give it a proper presentation. They came out in 1971, and they were on production until 1981, the first generation of the Leone. And they came in many different shapes and forms. They came as a two-door coupe, a two-door hardtop, a two-door or a four-door sedan, also a five-door wagon, which is the one that we're looking at right now. And then if you didn't have enough, you can also get it as a two-door pickup truck, which was called the Brat. Excuse me. In some parts of the world, they were called the Subaru Brat. In other parts, they were called the Brumby. But they sure made them like they came as a four-wheel drive, but then you also have example like this one, the option of the all-wheel drive vehicle. And I like that. I like when, and I know Subaru was one of the pioneers in that sense of making almost all the all-wheel drive as an option in most of their vehicles. And now they even more. Now I think literally almost all of them are all-wheel drive. Engines. Let's talk about engines. You had a small engine, which is a 1.1 option, and then you had a 1.2, a 1.4, or a 1.6. All of these came as a four-cylinder engine. Transmissions, you had a four or a five-speed manual, or then if you like the automatics, you had a three-speed automatic also. Okay. It says let me read you a little bit about this car. It says in September of 1972, the four-wheel drive station wagon was released, which is this one right here. However, it did not appear in the United States until 1974 as a 1975 model. The Leon was introduced before the 1972 Winter Olympics in Sapporo to emphasize their durability and adverse weather conditions. Up until this time, four-wheel drive had been seen limited mainly on off-road vehicles, although the very expensive Jensen FF has been built in limited numbers. So that kind of confirms what I even said before. Subaru was one of the most pioneers that came out with these four-wheel drive. I'm guessing the Jensen FF, which was a British. If you're not familiar with Jensen, it was a like a non. It was not like a. It's a limited brand, limited amount of vehicles, brand from Britain. back in the days, back in 60s and 70s, if I'm not mistaken. But I guess the Jensen FF was also a four-wheel drive vehicle. All right, everyone, I'm gonna let this station quite unique wagon. Let it go around a few times, and I'll be right back. All right, everyone. So, what do you guys think about this small four-wheel drive wagon from the early 70s from a brand that back in the early 70s was not as known as, you know, other traditional brands from Europe or United States. Remember, Japanese brands, they were still quite not really much known in the early 70s. I mean, Subaru was, I remember before they were coming up with a little K car called the 360, which was super, petite, not a car that you would probably drive very far distances. But then these cars were already more like a regular size car that you can trust a little more. Let me know what you guys think about it. Were they sold in your country? Also, before I forget, there's a resin model. If you haven't noticed, and it's made by Hisense. All right. What do you guys think about the model? Do you remember them? Were they sold as a wagon, as a pickup, as a sedan, as a coupe? Were they reliable? You know, I personally haven't seen one of these in ages. Ages. They still not the most remembered Subarus out there. Believe it or not, the one that's quite like a cult in at least is the Brat, which is a pickup. I guess it was very unique in their, which I did a video of the Brat, if I'm not sure. No, I did the video of the Brat. Yes, I did actually. On this edition, I did the video of the Brat. You can check it out and see it there. And if you're not familiar with the pickup version of this model. All right, everyone. Don't forget to give me that beautiful thumbs up. Thank you so much. Don't forget to click and subscribe and click the bell next to the subscribe button that will remind you when I'm posting more videos. Take care of yourselves, like I always say, more than ever, and goodbye.